Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We're going to give people a few more minutes to join. Feel free to drop where you're from in the chat. I'm seeing some viewers from Kentucky, from Ohio. So just drop where you're from. I'd love to see where everybody's tuning in from. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to take a quick moment to introduce ourselves. So I'm Morgan. I work on the business development team here at Tax 990. I'm also joined by Josee. She's an enrolled agent, and she works directly with nonprofits every day. All right. During the webinar, you're going to learn how to spot common Form 990 errors in risk areas. You're going to learn how to improve data accuracy and consistency, support nonprofit clients more efficiently, and strengthen the review process and documentation. And before we begin, just a reminder, we'll be discussing IRS e-file requirements and the process of e-filing.
So we're going to take a look at requesting information from your clients and organizing your preparation process. You want to request information early, and if you have an engagement letter, even if it's before the end of the fiscal year, you can start gathering information. You just want to make sure that if you are starting that early, you're focusing on the narratives and other qualitative information, not numbers, and you're going to confirm everything is still true when you do your client review.
So what can you do to make the process simple for the client? It seems like the Form 990 can require a lot of information.
Yeah, so work papers are a great tool. Having templates that you send to your clients to help them know what you need, it just keeps everything accurate and clear, and it helps them understand what you're doing. A detailed questionnaire is a good idea for first-year clients because it helps both you and the client know what they need to provide. Just make sure that you're covering even the less common situations like transactions with disinterested persons or unrelated business taxable income.
So we put together a starter questionnaire to guide you, but you can always tailor it to your needs. Remember that you can often find copies of prior year returns and determination letters directly on the IRS website. Go ahead and scan the QR code on the screen. It's going to bring you to a questionnaire, and you'll see two different resources. One of these we'll discuss later on in the webinar. So take a minute to scan that so you can grab that. Okay, Josee, so question. Do you use the same questionnaire for new and returning clients in the same way? It seems like you would already know the ins and outs of their organization and how it processes so that you can rely more on last year's return.
You're absolutely right. So for returning clients, you can just update their information and ask them what has changed this year rather than starting over. It just makes the process less overwhelming if you identify what they've provided for you hasn't changed, rather than having them start completely from scratch. Things like program narratives, general management team, organization can all be sent to the client to request updates instead of asking them to just send them all over again. Another thing to consider is engaging your clients throughout the tax year. Don't just check up with them in January. Follow up each quarter and make sure that they have your contact information for questions. How you bill for that is completely up to you. But tax planning and tax advisory is an important part of the tax process. And so it doesn't just make them feel more confident and comfortable with the process. It makes it easier for you, and they're going to turn in perfect information that both you and your client agree on.
All right. And feel free to drop any questions in the chat. We're happy to kind of answer them as we go. So we'll be looking out for those. Also, in addition to the questionnaire and client correspondence, keep track of what you're expecting from them. They may indicate to you that they had fundraising income, but you need the details for that schedule. Having a checklist helps you to feel good that you have everything you need to prepare the return. You can start the sections for the return for which you have the information for, and also keeping a track of that as you go to be aware what's going to carry over to other parts of the return.
And keep in mind that chronological order of the return might not be the most comfortable way for you to prepare it. And in fact, the IRS on page 4 of the instructions for the 990, they have a suggested workflow where you start from schedules A through F and then H through M before you even begin to move on to the main part of the form. So if you take this approach, my suggestion is actually to start with part 4 of the 990, the checklist of required schedules. And that way you just get a good feel for which schedules you're actually going to need. Just do whatever is going to be comfortable for you. There are plenty of sections on the return and then schedules as well that stand alone. So you can go as you receive information from the client. If you're doing it that way, just make sure you're keeping track of what you've already done and what you have left to do.
Great. Richard is wanting to know if we can send the link to the questionnaire. Richard, give me just a moment. I do have that QR code again on another slide here. If you're unable to capture it, then let me know and we'll make sure that we get the link to you. All right. So an important part of preparing the return is working with the financial statements. Sometimes a client has audited statements that are easy to work with, but there still may be some work on your part to make sure that the return is accurate.
Yeah, and so how you reconcile your client's information is another step that's going to be tailored to how you're most comfortable. I like to use a trial balance. I think it's a good option. It just helps significantly with confirming that your balance sheet and your income statement flow together and that your net assets tie from year to year.
And some parts of the return flow together. You can double check that those sections make sense.
Exactly. Also keep an eye out for red flags. The officer compensation on part 7 can't be higher than the officer compensation on part 9. Your allocated program services on part 3, those need to tie out to your income statement. Just be familiar with those sections that work together and it can help you feel good about how accurate the return is.
All right. Tax preparers don't just have the job of preparing the return. They look at compliance and what other returns or schedules are needed.
There are several things that you want to check while you go through preparation, like is the organization in good standing with the state? Do they have separate filing requirements from the IRS? And are their bylaws and their organizational purpose still in good standing and match what they had originally filed with the IRS? And you'll also want to take a look at the required schedules and go over them in a lot of detail. Schedule A and the public support test, those are something that you want to have a really good conversation with your client about. And Schedule D is going to help you with tying out depreciation, audit reconciliation, investments, and details for your other assets and your liabilities. The Schedule O also tends to have a lot of information on it, so just review it carefully, make sure that everything from your prior year still stands.
When you're preparing a return in Tax 990, you can easily run the review process with your team. You can invite any number of team members to collaborate by adding them as either a preparer or an approver. Giving feedback on your return is important for both accuracy and your learning process. If you're using our software, a reviewer can leave a comment or they can suggest edits. You might want to make sure that this is for other team members to also look over your work or when they send it off for client review. Clients will be able to e-sign their return here as well. If you're working solo, having a checklist for the entire process can make you feel more confident that you covered everything. We put together another checklist that you can use, and you can make it your own, or you just use it as a starting point to tailor it to you and your practice. You may even want to consider putting the return aside after you finish preparing it and coming back to it the next day or just sometime later, just to have a fresh set of eyes on it. You can go ahead and scan this QR code and you'll see it. See those resources available here.
So a 2-year comparison is another great tool to have in your toolbox. It's perfectly fine to have major changes from prior years, but you want to make sure that there's an explanation for them. While the financials are a big part of this, it's also a good opportunity to check back on narratives. The officers are a big one, and then policy changes too. So if anything stands out to you, make sure that you bring it up with the client.
Collaboration and client review matter a lot. This is where you make sure that the client understands exactly what is on the return. It shouldn't be something that only makes sense to you.
Yeah, your return review, it should be a conversation. If you're using Tax 990, you can send the return for review to the client and make notes when you send it so that they can focus on certain areas. Depending on the organization's bylaws, you might be asked to present the return to the board or an advisory committee. And if that's the case, you might want to send them a copy of the return before the meeting just so that they have a chance to look it over, prepare their questions. You'll also want to have your work papers available so that when they do have questions, you can explain everything a little bit more easily. And when you present, you should have your adjusting and federal tax journal entries ready to go and have them review the narratives and the changes.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's main portion. Josee, thanks so much for your insights and guidance. It was such a good information. When you are ready to get started, head over to tax990.com. It just takes a couple of minutes and you'll be able to jump right in. And now we want to hear from you. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat now. We'll be happy to answer them.
And Morgan, while we wait for questions, do you want to go back to the slide with the QR code so that they can scan it just while we take any questions?
That's a really, really good point, Josee. Thank you so much. Here we go. Wait to see. Wait just another minute or two.
As far as these checklists go, guys, these are things that I put together just based off of my experience filing these tax returns. I go through checklists for every stage of the return process just because I want to be so careful that I'm not missing anything. So these are what I use, but everybody works a little bit differently. So, use this as a template and update it for what's going to work for you too.
And these are really good templates. Josee, you did a really good job putting this together. It's going to be very helpful. Awesome. And Annie also says, great information. Thank you, Annie. All right. Richard says, can you walk us through how to send the 990 review to the client? Richard, I would love to walk you through this. Can you send me an email? You can send it to support@tax990.com, and I will personally get with you with a one-on-one and schedule to show you that. I'm happy to do that.
We would love to do it. We just don't have it pulled up in the webinar for you today. So yeah, absolutely though.
Yes, I would love to do that. And I can put the email in here so that way you have it. Okay. go. Oh, perfect. Had a little help there. Thank you. All right. And Dean has a question as well. Just thank you for the info and products available. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's not any major questions. I am going to go here. And then, as you probably already know, you can reach us or our dedicated support team at support@tax990.com. You can also reach us by chat or by phone, and the phone number is listed on the screen. However you'd like to connect, we have you covered. We also have tons of resources available for you. Our knowledge base is a great place to start. It's filled with quick answers, form guidance, and latest updates on filing requirements. And we also have a YouTube channel with step-by-step tutorials. We also have blogs on our website with helpful tips and insights. And thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to register for next week's webinar. It'll be our last one before the May 15th deadline, and it's going to be called the Last Minute Form 990 Checklist. And you'll learn how to review critical errors before you submit your 990. You're going to catch common last-minute errors and then confirm required schedules and attachments. And then you, of course, file with confidence, even so close to the deadline. So we're happy and excited about that, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks so much, everybody.